The COVID-19 Diary is an association of African universities program supported by the National Research Foundation of South Africa that aims to correct and demystify public information based on perception, beliefs, and other non-scientific evidence about the virus. This AAU radio drama series on COVID-19 is produced by the COVID-19 Diary team to educate the public on this pandemic. Episode 2 of the series is titled Understanding the Myths versus Science of the Novel Coronavirus. Enjoy.
This is the COVID-19 Diaries breaking news from the Association of African Universities. Vaccines will be provided to people above the age of 18 at all vaccination facilities beginning tomorrow as part of the COVID-19 pandemic response. AAU TV News reporting. I am Jemima Dotsey.
Irama, did you hear what was just said in the news?
Do you mean the availability of COVID-19 vaccines at the various centers? And that we should get the COVID-19 vaccine? Nana Kofi, I am not going anywhere to take the vaccine. Haven't you heard what is being said about these vaccines and the COVID-19 itself?
There she goes again with the market information, aka gossips.
No, this is not a gossip, Nana Kofi. It's not a gossip.
Okay now, if it's not gossip, tell me what you heard.
Now you are talking. I heard that the vaccines contain a microchip that will trace all of our activities after we've been vaccinated, and that these microchips are somehow the mark of the devil, 666.
Hey, Irama, this is hilarious. This isn't true, my dear.
How is this not true?
Well, I have been following the COVID-19 Diary program on social media, and today I chanced to attend their virtual webinar, which allowed experts to discuss the fact and science behind some of the misconceptions and conspiracy theories surrounding the COVID-19.
Really? And what did they say?
There's no need for me to explain, my dear. The recorded version is available on their Facebook and YouTube page. Let me just do a quick check for you. Association of African Universities. There it goes. Excellent. Now, let me fast forward to where Dr. Ransford Tetteh Ahinakwa clarified what you just said. Listen.
But much more to this sort of thing, if you follow the way a vaccine comes into being, it goes through rigorous check. We have to make sure that the product is safe. We've checked the lethal level of it. We make sure that everything that goes with it, it complies with the FDA regulations, and much more on that. Even if the thing is approved, you see, the 7 or 8 people panelists will sit down and analyze every aspect of it. If they are not satisfied, they push it back to you. There have been several occasions where companies sent things to the FDA rejected. You do a whole an FDA conference, that is a meeting with the FDA so that you all be on the same page. Sometimes it works, but you want to be on the same page in presenting a BLA for approval. And I've told you that the BLA will have to contain the chemistry of the drug. It has to contain the control and how you're going to manufacture it. Now, they'll send people to the place to come and investigate, see the facility. Is the facility good enough? Does it control hygiene? Because this is a biological. What temperature, under what temperature are you doing this? All these sort of things, you have to go through it to get the vaccine approved. So my encouragement to the entire population is that, look, this thing is so dangerous. If you get a chance to take the shot, take the shot. I have taken my shot in April, my first one, my second one, and the booster. Why? Because I just want to be sure that everything is going very well. And I want to give the assurance to this thing that there's no, at what stage, with what I've produced, I've given you right now, at what stage will they put a microchip? You can't do it. That's not true.
Interesting. I am starting to understand and be convinced. But hang on. We all know how this pandemic began. It was believed that the virus was produced by a scientist in China who wanted to wipe out all of us. Was anything said about that?
Yes, that was also scientifically explained by Miss Doris Emakaili, a medical laboratory scientist in Nigeria. You can listen to that one too.
So I'm going to try as much as possible to demystify all these myths that we have listed here. Now, the first one I'm going to try to answer is those that believe that the SARS-CoV-2 was genetically modified so that it could spread so easily among humans. Now, several researchers have looked into whether the features of the SARS-CoV-2 signal was bioengineered. And one of the first teams to do so was led by Kristen Anderson, who is a virologist at Trip Research in La Jolla, California. They were able to determine that it was improbable that the SARS-CoV-2 emerged through laboratory manipulation of a related COVID-like coronavirus. Now, what these people carrying the myth are talking about is that the receptor binding domain, which is located on the S protein of the coronavirus, is prone to genetic mutation. And they feel that because that part of the coronavirus is prone to genetic mutation, it has to have been man-made to be able to do that. Now, they also believe that because this SARS-CoV-2 could easily spread within a few meters to infect other people, it also means that it was genetically modified. Now, what the ROBD of the SARS-CoV does is that it helps the virus itself to bind to the human cell. And other studies have shown that it is not only the SARS-CoV-2 that has this ROBD in the spike. Further slides will also show that pangolins have the same ROBD, and they can also bind easily with humans if exposed. So early cases of the COVID-19 also were leaked to human markets. The scientists believe that an animal source had to be present in that location to be able to transmit this virus from humans or from the animal itself to human. So debunking the concerning that it was bioengineered, scientists also tried to look at the genome of the SARS-CoV-2 to see if there is any genetic signature that indicates that this was man-made. The study also showed that there is no linkage between the SARS-CoV-2 to any known SARS-like coronavirus in existence. So which also suggests that this SARS-CoV-2 was not biologically engineered. Now, we also have those who say, okay, it is suspicious. We haven't found the SARS-CoV-2 in any human, in any animal. Now, it took about 14 years before scientists could nail down the origin of the SARS epidemic to bats. So outbreak origin investigation usually takes years. So I feel it is too quick for us to conclude, for them to conclude that, oh, this has not been linked to any animal. Ebola itself that has caused a lot of deaths in African countries still hasn't been isolated from any animals to date. So the difficulty is that the researchers will find the right animals before it dies or before that infection clears off. And we know it's very difficult to be able to get a particular animal that has that infection in them. Even WHO carried out a report into the origin of the COVID-19. And they concluded that it is unlikely that the coronavirus escaped from a lab at the Wuhan Institute of Virology. And then that most scientists also believe that this conclusion made by the WHO is actually true, that the SARS itself must have speed from animals into humans.
Okay, this is understandable. But then again, what about the COVID-19 vaccine, which has the potential to alter the human DNA structure, thereby causing long-term health problems?
That is a good question, my wife. According to Ms. Jesica Huang, the COVID-19 vaccines do not alter our DNA in any way. Listen to that one too as well over here.
As we are discussing today, there has been some misinformation and disinformation about the mRNA vaccines interacting with DNA. However, the vaccines cannot interact with DNA, and we'll go over some of the scientific reasons for why. So first and foremost, the mRNA from COVID-19 vaccines can't actually cross the nuclear membrane into the cell nucleus where our DNA is located. So analogy for this is imagining a lock where there's no key. So the mRNA cannot cross into our cell nucleus, so they can't reach our DNA and they cannot interact with our DNA. Even if it somehow got into our cell nucleus, which we know that it cannot, but even if it got in there, we still are missing the enzyme that would be needed to reverse transcribe RNA to DNA. So imagine this would be like speaking different languages without a translator. So even if the mRNA got into our cell nucleus, which it cannot, it's not the same as DNA. Even if there were somehow introduced the enzyme that would enable the mRNA to be transcribed to DNA, we are still missing the enzyme that would be needed to integrate with the body's DNA. So imagine separate pieces that can't be connected, right? So one, mRNA cannot cross the membrane into the cell nucleus where our DNA is located, not from the vaccine. And even if it got in there, it's not going to be able to interact with the DNA because it's RNA. And then even if it got reverse transcribed to DNA, we're still missing the enzyme needed to integrate it with our body's DNA. So for multiple reasons, mRNA vaccines actually cannot interact with DNA. What's more, the mRNA from COVID-19 vaccines only lasts up to a couple of days in the human body. Some estimates are less than 72 hours. So because it disintegrates so quickly, again, it's just really not going to be able to permanently alter your DNA. But we do know that the misinformation that's been spreading has been citing various sources, sometimes unfortunately misusing the studies that exist. So for example, some claims have been misusing a preprint study by researchers affiliated with MIT. However, if you look carefully at the study and not just at the title of the study actually does not provide evidence that the mRNA can permanently alter our DNA. And the study has now since gone from a preprint to a fully published article and has been challenged by other researchers. So just want to put out there that just because you see something citing something, again, we need to check our sources.
Interesting.
Of course. It's interesting to understand the science and facts behind all of the pandemic's misconceptions. I trust you understand the explanations and will not argue with me about being vaccinated.
In fact, I am going to preach the message to my fellow market ladies. Please share the link with me.
Simply search for the Association of African Universities on YouTube, then go to the COVID-19 Diaries playlist, where you will find the video titled The Myth versus the Science of COVID-19, along with other educational videos.
Thank you, my husband. That was incredibly interesting and educational. So when are we getting the vaccine?
We can go next week, Monday. But what lessons did you learn from this?
I learned that 1. The COVID-19 vaccine has no microchip, and all vaccines go through a thorough process and test before being issued for usage. Also, the SARS-CoV-2 virus was not created by humans, rather, it was naturally spread from animals to humans. And then again, vaccines can never change our DNA.
That was an excellent summary, my dear. I'm impressed. But you know what? Let's go get dinner, the table, and continue the discussion in bed.
All right, darling, let's go.
This drama titled Understanding the Myths versus Science of the Novel Coronavirus was written by Ransford Bekoe and Isabella Tetteh Ahinakwa of the Association of African Universities. It was produced by the COVID-19 Diary Program. The cast were Agyemang Darko as Nana Kofi, Isabella Tetteh Ahinakwa as Irama, Jemima Deladem Dotsey as the news anchor. Our kindest appreciation goes to Dr. Tetteh Ahinakwa, Vice President, Novavax, and Assistant Professor, Johns Hopkins University, USA. Ms. Doris Emakaili, Medical Lab Scientist, Health Initiative for Safety and Stability in Africa, Nigeria. And Ms. Jesica Huang, Researcher, Maidan Digital Health Lab, USA.
Just